Millionaire's deaf daughter lost all hope, until a single dad whispered, "I'll help her." She had everything money could buy: a mansion, private tutors, designer clothes, and a father who would move mountains for her. But the one thing little Maya needed most, money couldn't give her: connection, belonging, a single friend who saw her as more than the quiet girl who couldn't hear the world around her. And on the day her father's wealth failed to buy her way into the school's talent show, Maya sat alone on a bench outside the school gymnasium, shoulders shaking, tears streaming silently down her face, completely invisible to everyone walking past. Everyone, that is, except one man. Before we go any further, if stories like this one move your heart, you're in the right place. Welcome to Heartfelt Moments, the channel where real human kindness takes center stage. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop a comment below telling us about a time someone's kindness changed your life. Now, let's get back to Maya. Maya Collins was 9 years old and profoundly deaf from birth. Her father, Richard Collins, had built a real estate empire from nothing. He drove a black Mercedes, owned 3 homes, and had donated an entire wing to the local children's hospital. By every measure the world uses to keep score, Richard Collins was winning. But when it came to his daughter's happiness, he felt completely powerless. Maya had been enrolled in Maplewood Elementary's general education program for 2 years. Richard had hired the best speech therapists. He'd purchased state-of-the-art hearing aids. He'd even offered to fund a full-time sign language interpreter for the entire school, not just for Maya, but for every student who needed one. The school accepted the funding, but the children, they didn't quite know what to do with the quiet girl who communicated differently, who laughed a beat too late because she was reading lips, who sometimes missed a joke entirely and just smiled politely while everyone else roared with laughter. Kids aren't cruel by nature. They just don't always know how to build a bridge to someone who lives in a different world. And slowly, quietly, Maya had started to believe that no bridge was coming. The talent show was supposed to be Maya's moment. She had practiced for 3 weeks, a sign language performance set to a song she could feel vibrating through the gymnasium floor. She had choreographed every movement herself, working with her home interpreter, Miss Donna, until her hands moved with the kind of grace that made people stop and stare. But when she handed in her registration form, the student committee, a group of 5th graders who didn't know any better, laughed. Not meanly, not with intention. But they laughed, and one of them said, "How are you going to perform if you can't even hear the music?" Maya didn't cry in front of them. She was too proud for that. She walked out of the building, sat on the cold metal bench near the oak tree, and let the tears come quietly, the way they always did, in private, where no one could see. That's where Thomas Reeves found her. Thomas was a single dad. He worked 2 jobs, days at a hardware store, evenings doing handyman repairs around the neighborhood. He drove a pickup truck with a cracked windshield and wore boots with the left sole starting to separate. He was there that afternoon to pick up his son, Danny, a 3rd grader who was Maya's classmate. Thomas didn't know who Maya was. He didn't know her father was Richard Collins. He didn't know anything except that a little girl was sitting alone, crying, and every single adult walking past was pretending not to notice. He sat down next to her. Not close enough to startle her, just close enough to be present. When Maya looked up, he smiled, not a pitying smile, a real one, and he signed, slowly and imperfectly, "Are you okay?" Maya's eyes went wide. She shook her head no. Thomas nodded, as if that was the most honest and reasonable answer in the world. Then, in halting sign language he'd learned years ago when a deaf coworker had become his closest friend, he asked her what was wrong. It took a while. His signing was rusty, and they filled the gaps with a notepad he pulled from his shirt pocket. But by the time Danny came bounding out the front doors, Thomas knew everything: the talent show, the laughing kids, the 3 weeks of practice, and the dream that had been casually crushed in about 30 seconds. He looked at Maya and said it out loud, slowly, so she could read his lips clearly. "I'll help her." Then he caught himself and signed it too. "I'll help you." Thomas went to the principal the very next morning. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He simply explained what had happened, calmly and clearly, the way a man does when he knows he's standing on the right side of something. The principal, to her credit, was horrified. The talent show registration was reopened. Maya was given a slot. But Thomas didn't stop there. He spent the following week rallying parents, teachers, and students to learn 10 basic signs, just enough to clap along with Maya's performance in a language she could actually feel. He made a simple video tutorial, posted it in the school's parent group, and by show night, the gymnasium was filled with people whose hands were ready. When Maya walked onto that stage, the room didn't just applaud. They signed with her. Every chorus, every bridge, every final sweeping motion. Nearly 300 people moved their hands in a language they had learned in a week, just for a little girl who had stopped believing anyone would. Richard Collins sat in the third row, a man who had funded hospital wings and bought everything money could reach, and he wept like he hadn't in years. After the show, he found Thomas in the hallway. He tried to offer him money, a reward, anything. Thomas smiled and shook his hand and said, "Just pay it forward, man. Just pay it forward." Kindness doesn't always arrive in a limousine. Sometimes it pulls up in a pickup truck with a cracked windshield, sits down next to you on a cold bench, and signs the words that change everything. You don't need wealth to change a child's world. You just need to stop walking past. If this story warmed your heart, share it with someone who needs a reminder today that good people still exist. And remember, every single day, you are someone's Thomas Reeves. All you have to do is sit down.